tutorial is to paint these really pretty, they're just so beautiful Valentine's cookies and macaroons. They're just so pretty. So I've traced it out, and what I'm going to do is I've got this kneaded eraser. The lines are kind of dark, and I'm going to be using really light colors on this, so I don't want the lines to really show up too much. And if they do, that's okay. But I can lighten them here, and that's just taking a kneaded eraser and just dabbing it. Don't use an eraser that's on the end of a pencil or one of those big white erasers. They can be pretty not challenging, but they can be pretty rough on this paper. So just lift up the excess graphite. You could also use a piece of masking tape. Just drop it in, press it down, lift it up, and that will lift the excess also. Now see, it's so light you can hardly see in the video. Okay, so these are pale pink. They almost don't even look pink. It almost looks kind of a cream color, but I wanted to make them pink, very pale pink. So I've got a round brush size 8 here, Rhapsody Kolinsky Sable, but just use whatever you have. It really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to paint the cookie part. Just a wash of color. Be easier if I turn this sideways to get to it a little bit easier. I think I may have to do that. Just makes it easier. Such a pretty color. This one is sitting on top of this other one, so I'm going to make sure and let that dry before I paint that one. These are already looking so pretty. And I'm just using permanent rose. Use any pink you have. Or you could make them purple. Whatever color you want. These are your cookies here. I'm going to skip that one because it's touching. Oh, they're so pretty already. Okay, we're going to let this dry, and then I'll come and do these two. These are dry, so now I can paint this cookie here. So pretty. Okay, this needs to be dried completely. Okay, this is dry. Now I'm going to make these little dots here at the top of each of these cookies, or I guess that's actually the bottom of each of those cookies. And I've mixed, I've got the permanent rose like I used for the cookie, and I mixed just a little bit of violet in there to make it a little darker. It may need to be darker than this on the next go around, but we'll see. So I've got a size 0 brush, round brush, and I'm just going to just kind of go in here and make some little dots. Got a little cat hair here. You can see how much lighter they dry. That's watercolor. Okay, let's let this completely dry. Okay, this is dry. I've still got more to do on the cookie part, but I'm going to start working on the filling. And I mixed this color of, gosh, what color did I use? I used violet and a little bit of viridian green to tone down the purple, to make kind of this grayish, very, very light, lots of water. So I'm just going to go in here and just make just these little squiggly things all over the place to make it resemble the texture of the coconut. It may not, but you'll know it's something. It's some kind of filling, some kind of yummy filling. And I'm just squiggling around. I'm not making any design or anything. I'm just moving it around, dabbing it. That was a big dab. Let's pick some of that up. It may not look like coconut filling or shredded coconut on it, but that's okay if it doesn't. Looks like lace, actually. It's kind of cool. It does look like lace. So now you know how to paint lace. Just do with a tiny brush, just do some squiggles. Oh, I think that looks kind of cool. Like, it really looks like lace. Okay, let's let this dry. Okay, I'm going to use the same pink that I did those dots. And I'm going to just go across here where those other little, where I just did the dots. And then I just did one little line, and I'm going to take a damp brush and just soften that edge. going to do this one just because of the way I'm situated here. I'm upside down, so I'm going to do the top cookies. And then damp brush, not too wet. Tickle that line. One more down here. Damp brush. Tickle the edge. Smooth it out some. Now I can turn it over. Paper towel time. I'm almost out. Okay, now I'm going to do the bottom cookie just like I did the top cookie. Just go across the little dots. Damp brush. Tickle the edge. Damp brush. Damp brush. Starting to look like cookies. Okay, let's let this dry. Okay, this is dry. Now I'm going to work on the shadows between the cookies. I've got the same permanent rose mixed with a little bit of violet. And I'm just going to look at the photograph. I'm going to use a different brush to smooth the edge so I don't lose all my paint. There we go. Now that's looking like there's a bit of a shadow there. I'm just coming on down. Let me drop a little bit more in here. Okay, this right here, this bottom part of the cookie is in the shadow. Damp brush. Just keep using the same technique. Drop some more down in there. This actually needs some more value too. Damp brush. Oh, that's just so pretty. Got a little bit of a hard line there. I'm not going to worry about it. Got two brushes going here. I'm going to turn it this way to make it a little easier for me. Prevent the hard line, I'm just going to go over the whole thing. And then drop in some more over here. This one's going to need to be dry before I can do that one. But I can do this part again. I just won't go all the way to the other cookie line. Okay, they're just so pretty. Okay, let this dry. Okay, it's dry. I need to work on this shadow right there. Actually, I need to work on all the shadows. They need another layer. Damp brush. Drop a little bit more here and here because it's a little bit darker there. Do another go around here around these edges just because I think they need it. I went a little farther than I thought I was going to go. That's okay. I will have to come back and deal with that later. I forgot that was wet. Oops. Okay. Got a little hard line there when I went past where I should have gone, but that's okay. We can clean that up a little bit later. Okay, let it dry. Okay, this is dry. So now what I'm going to do is I've got this very, very watered down permanent rose here. Very watered down. And I'm going to just paint it over the icing. I'm not going to worry about going over the heart because that's going to have some red on it later, so you can go over that. The red will definitely cover up this pink. Let me start up here. Very, very pale. Just such a pale color pink. I like the pink filling. These are some thick cookies here. Okay, let's let this dry. Okay, it's dry. I'm going to do another layer of these little dots here to show the texture of the cookie. They're looking like cookies. Okay, let this dry. I'm going to use the same mixture here of the permanent rose and violet. I'm going to add some dots here, not dots, but some squigglies in the filling. I've got some gray there already, some grayish color. Let's make it look like it's pink shredded coconut. Pick up some of this excess water here, paint. Okay, let's let this dry. Okay, now we're going to do the shadow between the cookie and the filling on each one of these. That's just make a line between the cookie and then a damp brush just to smooth it just a little. Use this different brush to do the smoothing. It's a lot faster because it's bigger. Got two brushes in my hand. It's going to wet the whole thing. I just put a lot of water on there. That's okay. It'll give it a place to go. It will travel. I thought this needed just a little bit more. Okay, let it dry. Okay, I need to work on this shadow right here because I put too much water and it all touched because I didn't wait for it to dry. Go all the way to the top. It may not make that hard line disappear, but it'll camouflage it some. That's looking really pretty. Okay, let's let this dry, and we're going to add the red hearts, add some shading down here, and we're going to call it done. Okay, I'm going to do one more glaze of this really pale, watered down permanent rose for the filling. I just think it needs it. So I've got my Kolinsky brush here, and I'm just going to go over the whole thing. Kind of do a unifying wash. Yeah, I like that. That's a pinkier filling. And it's going to look so awesome when I add the red heart candy. I made this harder than it should have been. I might have to do this one again, just to simplify it a bit. Okay, let this dry. Okay, I'm going to do this very slight shadow here at the bottom. And this is the same mixture as this, and I just added a little bit a viridian to it to tone it down some. Just dabbing some of this up. Splattered some over there. Okay, let's mix up some of this cad red. And do the hearts. Are they dry? Yeah, they're dry. Cad red is pretty opaque, so it's just going to go over whatever I've got here. While it's wet, I'm going to drop in, that's very intense purple. Let me mix some with the red here. Just a little to give it some form. While it's still wet. I'm just dropping in more cad red. I put a lot of purple in there. Didn't want all that much, but that's okay. I'm just mixing it around. I think that will give me what I'm looking for, which is just a little darker on the edge. Okay, let's let this dry and see what we think. Okay, I'm going to add just a little bit of this dark purple, or this purple mixed with the cad red, just a little bit along here on the bottom to make it look like this is a candy. It's not just a flat thing. It's got some form to it. Just kind of smooth that edge. Okay, I'm going to let this dry and see what I think. I am calling this done. Like I said before, I made this harder than it needed to be. I'm going to do this tutorial again to simplify it a bit. I didn't really like the filling here, so I got some white gouache here, and I just made a bunch of dots on the top one just to see what I thought, and it looks a lot better than these. Just look, they're just too much the same. So just get some gouache and just make a bunch of little dots and squiggles. This is what I do when I paint something that I really didn't like how it looked. It was just too much the same value, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like the filling. So I just keep going, keep trying something until I like it better. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it's like, well, I probably should have left it alone. But it's just paper, it's just paint. This definitely looks better than all the same. Oops, splattered some water over there. I'm bad about that. I'm such a messy painter. You should see the mess I make when I do acrylic pours. Which is so much fun to do. A little bit of water. Just making little dots and squiggles. Okay, I'm going to let that dry, and I'll probably go through and do some more dots, but I want that to dry first. it's dry. I've got a smaller brush here and less water. I want some really bright white here. Just do some more dots on top of the others. It'll give it some texture, some highlight. You could use a gel pen for this. And who knows, I may break mine out and do that too. Yeah, that looks like coconut. Looks like it has some pink icing and then it was coconut added to it. A little bit more water. I just barely dipped the tip of this into the water. Need a little bit more water, just barely put the tip. Now I'm liking this. Oh, that looks so much better. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry and I'll probably come back with one more round of the white dots. Okay, it's dry and I've got more white gouache ready to go. Let's do another layer. Gives it lots of dimension. Oops, I got on top of that red. That's okay. It'll just make a little highlight. That's what it needed. All these layers of dots really builds it up and makes it really look like little coconut flakes. So this tutorial, you've learned how to make something look like coconut, and you've learned how to make something look like lace. When that first layer for the icing, it looked like lace. Now I want one of these cookies. One day I'm going to bake these. Oh, I like it now. I was disappointed before, but I like this now. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry and see if that's all I want to do to it. Now I'm calling this done. It looks so much better having some of the white specks here to make it look like coconut instead of having all this pink straight up and down. Now we've got some contrast, we've got some texture there, and it looks like cookies, looks like macaroon cookies. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you didn't make all the mistakes I did throughout this whole thing. But this is just an important message to share, that if you're doing something and you really don't like it, there's nothing to lose by keep going and try some things to pull it out of the mess it is in. And I think I pulled it out as much as I possibly can. But I like it. Valentine's hearts. Even the white spot that got on the heart gave it a little highlight, so that was a good thing. Thank you so much.